Death Stranding 2 has completely disengaged itself from its own gameplay loop, which is the traversal. It gives you a whole bunch of tools to use to overcome difficult terrain and obstacles, but you never actually need any of them. And I'm exhausted with watching people defend this, and content creators and reviewers not calling out just how completely broken its gameplay loop is. So I wanted to make this video showcasing exactly what I mean, because it's irrefutable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a couple of deliveries that's going to stretch across most of Australia, and I'm going to do it without any tools, on foot, no vehicles, no ladders, no nothing, because I'm not going to need them. There is a flat path to almost every destination in the game. So let's just start here. I believe I can never remember the names of the locations. I believe I'm at South Knot. No, I'm at West Fort Knot. So my plan is we're going to take a delivery to the animal shelter. From the animal shelter, we're going to go to the architect. From the architect, we're going to go all the way, that was my phone, I apologize, all the way to the mechanic. As you can see, that stretches through a good portion of the entire map. I will not need a single tool to do this, and I'm not going to have to try hard either. It's not like this is some kind of challenge run. That's kind of the point. Back in Death Stranding 1, I did come up with some house rules for some challenge runs. I can't even do that in Death Stranding 2 because there's no terrain to overcome in the first place. No amount of self-imposed rules will make it so that you engage with the gameplay, because the map is designed to make it so that you do not engage with the gameplay. So we're going to do, we're going to deliver these chemicals to the animal shelter. The only thing we're going to use is a cargo carrier, simply because I'm not using an exoskeleton, meaning I can't actually carry this much weight. We're going to take a couple weapons too, just because, but no traversal tools whatsoever, and no exoskeleton, no PCCs. I'm going to be wearing combat boots and combat gloves, no traversal shit. We're just going to take a big bore handgun and just a couple blood grenades. Just because I can't remember exactly what's all on these trails, and just in case we do have to fight enemies, which will also be almost frictionless, but that's a different video. That's a video for another time. So handgun will go in our handgun holster. And I'm sorry if I sound a little bit awkward. Normally I write my scripts ahead of time and then I just voice them over. I don't usually do stuff ad-libbed. I'm definitely not good at it. There's a reason I don't stream. Okay, I'm not going to plan a route or anything because I don't need to. The only thing I'm going to do, which I'll show you as soon as I get to the out of this building, is I'll use my compass. And I'll look at the compass to see where I'm going and just follow that direction. That is all I have to do. No more thought is required. So, I can see that the animal shelter is there. I'm going to exit here and go in that direction. Oh, you know what? I messed up. I'm not wearing combat boots. I'm wearing, I think they're called absolute boots. Alright, do-over. Let's go. There will be some roads scattered about from when I still had the online partially on. Which is funny just how many roads there are, because I've only contributed to maybe one segment. Any road I come across, I'm going to be ignoring for the purpose of this demonstration. And that's my phone again. The joys of unscripted videos. My dogs are looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm sitting here talking to myself. So I think after we get to the animal shelter, I don't think I'll need the carrier anymore, so I'll start carrying stuff on my backpack. It's just without an exoskeleton, I can't actually carry the weight required for this trip, and the animal shelter is about the longest standard order available at West Fort Knott. And I'm trying to demonstrate, you know, just how flat these lands are and how these pathways work. So the first thing we're going to come across up here is a river. Rivers are probably the only obstacle you're ever going to come across, and they're not really an obstacle. See, I could use ladders or bridges to go over them, but I'm not going to need to. And this would be especially true if I was in a vehicle. See, in Death Stranding 1, the red would sink your vehicles. Your vehicles, you'd lose them. In Death Stranding 2, you can just plow right through any of these rivers in a truck or even a trike. And I'm just going to plow right through this. I'm trying to make this a straight, completely unedited video. And the PlayStation's record timer is at an hour. So I'm hoping I can complete this whole route within an hour. And I think it was just my luck that this river might be a little bit wider than normal. Maybe it just rained last time I played. But yeah, I mean, you could use something to get over this a little bit quicker. But the thing is I'm purposely not using a vehicle, which there is nothing stopping you from ever using a vehicle. There is no downsides to using a vehicle because of how flat the terrain is. And I'm going to demonstrate this as we go. And a vehicle would just plow right through that river as if it was nothing. No bridge required. And it's a shame because look around at this terrain. The world is gorgeous in Death Stranding 2. Like, visually, this game blows me away. It's so beautiful to traverse and explore. And you know, it really would be immersive if there was any type of friction to the game whatsoever. So again, I'm just checking my compass to see which direction I need to be going, and I'm more or less going directly to it. Like, no planning. I'm not plotting a route using my map. I'm just looking at the compass and going in that direction. It's that simple. As you can see here, the terrain is almost entirely unobstructed. I can walk through it just fine. I could drive through it just fine. You have these beautiful outcroppings and that, but they're not actually in your way. I'm trying to find enough things to say as I make this long trek. Talking to myself is very difficult for me. I have a lot of respect for streamers that can just jump on for hours at a time and talk. I am not good at that. I'm a writer. I write, and I can write out my reviews, because I write reviews on my website too. I don't just do YouTube videos. I'll write out a script, and I use the script that would be for my written review as my reading point, my prompt, my teleprompter to read off my reviews. And I had a hard time even then for a long time with sounding dull and monotone. It took a lot of practice to get over that. I'm still not perfect. But just talking free ball, I feel awkward, and it's just trying to find things to say. So once again, we have another river. The Odra deck shows that there's not even a red point here. I don't got to worry about getting swept away, and a vehicle would be right through this within seconds. So we'll just trod through. It's going to drain my stamina, but here's the thing, and there is a house rule I used in the first Death Stranding, which was not using the canteen, because the canteen refills your stamina, but it refills anytime you go through a river or you're in timefall for a while. So it's more or less like having infinite stamina, at least until your stamina bar starts permanently getting chunks out of it. Like you can see at the far right side of my stamina bar, I've permanently lost a little bit until I rest. It takes a good amount of going around to actually have that make an impact. So I'm going to ignore this road. This is not a road I built. so many roads, and I've never had anything to do with any of them. So we're coming up on an interesting point here. Because looking at the animal shelter, it's like, looks like I have this giant rock mesa, or maybe that's actually like fossilized old world buildings that are going to be in my way. And you might think, well, there's an obstacle. I got to get through this. Maybe I can use ladders, or maybe I can use a cargo cannon and fire over it. Maybe I have to go a long way around and go through treacherous territory or more unreasonable terrain to avoid it. That's how the first game would have been. So it's like, oh no, what do I do? Maybe I could just take a few steps to the left, and there's going to be a path here. And there's a path like this everywhere in the game. A nice, flat, unobstructed path that's going to lead me right up through this mesa with nothing for me to actually engage with or overcome. This entire journey so far has been me holding the left stick. I haven't had to think. I didn't have to prepare. I brought no tools with me. I haven't had to overcome anything. I mentioned this in my review, but it's a huge irony that the first Death Stranding was called a walking simulator. People would use that as an insult. And that was disingenuous because, yeah, you were walking, but the walking was the gameplay. Like, you weren't just walking. You had to figure out ways to overcome the terrain. Death Stranding 2 is quite literally a walking simulator, or driving sim if you were driving, which is what I think the game is expecting you to do most of the time. And that's just such a bummer. I loved Death Stranding 1. And like, it didn't review the best, but I loved it. It was so different. And I just clicked with making those deliveries, or finding efficient routes and overcoming those obstacles. Like, it wasn't like it was super difficult, and I did criticize the lack of difficulty, especially when it came to combat and the BTs. And it's not like the overcoming the terrain was particularly difficult. Like, if you get to an obstacle and you're like, crap, I need a ladder, I don't have a ladder, and I have to walk back to somewhere to fabricate it and then come back. It's not that that's particularly challenging, it's not. But it is making you engage with the gameplay. So yeah, it's not like Dark Souls hard, like, oh no, I failed. I had to go and come back with a tool to traverse something properly. It's not that same kind of difficulty. But it did make you engage, and if you were sloppy about it, you'd wipe out, drop your packages, they'd get damaged. They'd get damaged in the time fall, or stolen by mules, or you'd get jumped by a BT because you ended up having to go through there instead of somewhere you didn't have a tool to get through. It's not that it was hard, it's that it was engaging. You had to engage with the game's core gameplay loop, which, as you can see here, I'm having to talk a whole lot just to fill space in this video because there's nothing for me to overcome. We're at another one of those points, like, check this out. Man, maybe I need a ladder. Maybe I need a climbing hook. Or maybe I just need to walk a little bit to the left with the obvious path. Now see, the paths are so close to any point where you almost have an obstacle that you can't even argue that, well, I could have used a tool there. Yeah, look how close that is. That would be the equivalent of coming home to your locked house with your keys in hand, and instead of putting the key in to unlock the door, you smash the window and climb through just because you can. It doesn't make any sense. It's horrible game design. That, well, you could technically use a climbing hook right there 5 feet away from the actual path, but that's just terrible game design. That is not how a game should be designed. A game should be designed to make you engage with its systems, not purposely try to engage with them yourself because the game... see, I'm falling over my words now. I'm not good at speaking like this. What I'm trying to say is a game needs to be designed to force you to engage with its systems, not for you to make up ways to engage with it because the base game isn't allowing you to. So, here we are at the animal shelter. We're going to drop this off, and we're going to pick up another order. Oh, apparently I had a koala at some point. Legends of Legends of Legends rating with no tools and no effort. All I did was pretty much hold the left stick. Rescued koala. And there is so much that's actually good about this game, and it just breaks my heart that the first thing I did after beating it is I tried to come up with some house rules like I did for the first one, but it just doesn't work because of the way the map is designed. There's nothing I can do to make it engaging. Alright, so I want to go to the architect. There we go. So this is going to go from the animal shelter to the architect. It looks like I have to go through a whole lot, but we'll see. Again, I'm not taking any tools. These are going directly on my back. And I'm actually going to put my cargo carrier away because I don't need it. And again, I'm not even wearing a skeleton. I'm not wearing a powered skeletal suit. Let's arrange that a little bit. Alright, again, I don't need to plot a route. I'm not going to use the map. I'm just going to use my compass and basically look in the direction I need to go and then go in that direction.
Thank you.
Okay, so, alright. There's the architect. And we're just going to go. I still can't get over how great the environment actually looks in this game. I just wish the environment was more of a character like it was in the first game. The first game, your main antagonist, your opponent, was the terrain. That was the game. That's why it was so divisive, is because there was nothing else really like it, except maybe something like SnowRunner. It was a game about walking, running, sometimes driving, and using these tools to overcome the terrain itself. There was combat, but combat wasn't the focus. And honestly, there's a lot more combat in Death Stranding 2. I still don't think combat's the focus. The traversal is the focus. The traversal is what you spend 80% of your time doing. It's just, it's so cut down here. Now again, another one of these points where I'm coming to a cliff. Oh no. Oh no, I didn't bring any tools. How will I deal with it? Oh wait, what is this? You can see the walking paths. So, I don't have to go far out of my way. I just have to do the most logical thing. And look, oh, we have a path here. And this path is going to lead straight down that massive canyon. I remember the first time I was playing Death Stranding, the first one, and one of the earlier orders after you get out of the first map is the Elder, and there's that giant cliffside, and like if there was a path up it without using tools, I don't remember it, and it was out of the way. Like, I used ladders and stuff to climb up that thing. This does actually lead through bandit territory a little bit, but it is not going to matter, because the path actually leads pretty much right along its edge. Again, you just see, look at all this open ground. Now, the architect is up there. We are going to ignore the road. We're not going to use it. We're going to pretend it's not there. If I ever convince myself to do a playthrough again, which is unlikely because the game doesn't make me engage with it, I would definitely fully play offline so that nobody builds my roads. I never once needed them, or wanted them, or felt that they were important at all. And right there. Whoops. Wrong button. Now the game is actually gonna throw a bone here just because the river is flooded. Which really doesn't matter other than the fact that there's terrorists there. But that's why we brought the gun. There's actually a lot of creativity you could have in fighting, kind of. Just with the, it's a place for a different video. But there is a lot of tools that you could use in combat. You just never need to because there's no friction in it. We're just gonna haul ass. And again, if I was in a vehicle, this would be almost completely bypassed. It would be pretty embarrassing if I got shot down, but last time I came through this route, the river wasn't flooded and they never even saw me. Am I still going the right way? I am, okay. Yeah, and the cars, man, they could just plow right through these rivers like it was nothing. Ah, my butt! I just took 3 bullets straight to my ass cheek. You are still in shooting range, Sam. Now is not the time. Like, I know you're technically out of the territory, but for some reason they stopped shooting. Have a sip of the canteen. And get my bearings again. Oh, well, we're still on track. And just, you can tell I've walked this path before because I have footprints. Another road that we're going to completely ignore. Doo-ba-doo. Looks like there are some ladders up ahead that I had previously placed, but you know what? We're sticking to the no tools, just to throw it in the face of the game. I'm gonna walk right beside this ladder and not use it. And again, I really cannot emphasize enough how if I had a vehicle, if I had taken a vehicle, which once you unlock them, they're easy to make. You always have access to them. I'd already be done with this entire trip. We got a little bit of time fall going on. So again, we come to this giant cliff face, beautiful waterfall, and it looks like I may have an obstacle. But do I? Will I need tools? Will I need to use my brain at all? Will I need to engage with the game's systems? A game that's all about making deliveries through rough terrain. Nope, we're just going to take this path. There's always a path. This path is just going to wind right up to the top of the cliff. I play on brutal, and the only thing I can say is the time fall does degrade stuff really quick. It's just usually entirely inconsequential because of how frictionless the rest of the game is. I'm also surprised at just how steep of inclines and how many rocks Sam can actually climb without needing a tool in the first place. I was hoping the sun wouldn't set. Nighttime doesn't really come out great in videos. But I think we're over halfway done with me making my point. I'm going to take another delivery from the architect to the mechanic, but and it's crazy because, like, you know, that mountain, you can go there. You just don't have to work at actually doing it. You can go to the top of that mountain. There'll be a path there. There'll be a path, a walking path, a driving path, or whatever path. I've used this metaphor before, but it'd be like playing a game where the primary focus is shooting enemies, like Doom, and all the enemies just fall down without you pulling the trigger, unless you go way out of your way to find some weird path where they don't. If Doom did that, Doom would not get reviewed well. But for some reason, it's okay for Death Stranding to ignore its entire core concept, and it's fine. Like, I can't think of another genre of game where you could just ignore its core gameplay systems and wouldn't get ripped apart in reviews. So, we're going to deliver this to the architect. And then we're going to hopefully take a order from the architect to the mechanic. Skip. Skip again. And my packages did take a couple bullets. That makes sense. It'd be nice and safe in a pickup though. Or off-road or whatever they call it.
Order completed. Well done.
Okay. No, maybe. Oh no, there we go, mechanic. Okay. Once again, we're not going to take any equipment except for, you know, the weapons we have. All right, I did do a slight cut and edit there. One, because I really needed a bathroom break, and two, I wanted it to be daylight for the rest of the video, as it shows up better through YouTube than darkness. But I also did something really stupid. So I turned my audio recording on, and then I made the trek all the way from the architect here to the mechanic, and talked the whole time, and figured out once I got to the mechanic that I never turned on PlayStation's recording for this half of the journey. So instead of trying to do this again, because if I try and take the same path, I'm not going to be able to speak organically. It's going to come off robotic. I'm just going to end the video here because I think I have pretty much made my point anyway. We went all the way from West Fort Knott to the animal shelter to the architect and never needed any tools. There was always a path. And when I did this journey without actually hitting the record button like an idiot, it was even flatter than before. I mean, look, the half of this is desert. In fact, I'd planned on, once I reached the desert here, I was going to stop talking and just speed up the video and editing to get through the desert because it's really boring. It's just running through sand, and I hit a sandstorm on the way there. So I think I'm going to end it here, but the point I want to make is it's not to diss on Death Stranding 2, at least unfairly, because I do love Death Stranding. Death Stranding 1 was one of my favorite games of all time. And I love the story, I love the world, I love the characters. It's just Death Stranding 2's gameplay is such a disappointment. And the reason I'm harping on it so bad is because, one, there's a lot of people pretending that it's not the way that it is. And when it comes to game reviewers and content creators, people that should call this stuff out when they're not, and it's scoring higher than the original game, I take issue with that kind of thing because it influences the industry going forward. More and more games will just disregard their gameplay loops in the name of casting a wider net for accessibility and a wider audience. And in the process of doing that, the games lose a lot of their soul, their identity, what makes them unique. And Death Stranding 2 is not the only game that is guilty of this. One example I can give right off the top of my head is Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds barely even resembles a Monster Hunter game to me anymore. And there's been a lot of games like that. Death Stranding 2 is worse in that regard. It is the worst example I've ever seen. I've never seen a game disregard its own gameplay mechanics so readily as Death Stranding 2, to the point that not only do you not have to engage with its systems, if you want to engage with them, you have to go way, way out of your way to do so, because the game just doesn't really allow you to unless you go out of your way to do it. So that's why I've been kind of harping on this. All the universal praise I've seen for Death Stranding 2 has really, really bothered me. Especially because of how attached I was to the first one. But in any case, if I don't shut up now, I'm going to keep running in circles rambling. So, in any case, thanks for watching, and until next time.